There's a pattern that keeps repeating itself that you have probably observed. Someone famous, an influencer, a guru, someone known for their inspiring philosophy that changed the lives of millions, is one day caught in a scandal, doing precisely the opposite of what they say and practicing what they preach. And the whole world goes crazy. Everyone starts to call out hypocrisy and saying that this person is awful, as if one day ago they weren't saying to the world that this person's philosophy changed their lives. At this point, given the fact that this happens way too often, I think it's time people start accepting the harsh truth. People are teaching you things that they haven't mastered, and that's okay. So, the other day I was talking to a friend who follows this branch of Buddhism from China, and the mentor that got her and her partner into that, was this monk, and they really admired his teachings. It was really the person that made it all make sense for them, and that really opened this new world of philosophy, of spirituality to them. And so they spoke of this person very highly, until they found that this person, this monk, was involved in accusations. I mean, he was accused of sexual misconduct, and the whole world collapsed for them. Despite the fact that this person contributed to an increased harmony and peace of mind, they still could not overcome the fact that there's a level of cohesion that you expect from someone that preaches something, even though there is also a separation, a certain degree of separation between the messenger and the philosophy. This is a really good example of a topic that I debate with myself a lot, which is the authority that some people have, especially those with an important following of people, either being gurus, philosophers, or the modern version of it, influencers. Now more than at any other point in time, it's very easy for anyone to have an opinion about anything. The problem with that is that us viewers only get the curated version of it, the 15-minute video or the reel or the $10 ebook, and it's easy to mistake the philosophy for the practice that the person preaching that is actually having, because we don't get to see that. Some days ago, I received a comment that really made me laugh. I always wonder how much creators of such videos are talking to themselves. Which in other words meant, are you trying to convince us or yourself? And honestly, that's a very valid point. It's very fair. We see all these self-help gurus coming out left and right with depressions and mental health issues and anxieties, when we would expect them to be exactly what they preach, at peace. But the truth is that just because you figured something about life doesn't mean you're actually living it all the time. One thing is mental and spiritual understanding, and another thing is incorporating that understanding into your daily life. They are very different things, and we tend to confuse them. And this really goes down to the old debate. Can you separate the messenger from the messenger? And yes, you can, and you absolutely should. The message is mostly independent from the messenger. I think a very good analogy for this is enlightenment, or at least its smaller form, which is experiencing the state of pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is this very hard thing to attain, but once you experience it, at least a glimpse of it, you can't keep it, but your whole life changes just by knowing it's there. And so you spend your whole life alternating between a state of pure consciousness and a state of dualism and of forgetfulness, where you forget your true essence, your true matter, the way you truly are. And at times you may be falling away from that, at times you may remember, you may go back to that, you may meditate yourself to that point, you may have an amazing experience in life that gets you to that point, but you're always alternating between a state of pure consciousness and a state of a dualistic, let's say, ignorance. Everything that you do, however, is to get you back into that state. Does that make you a liar? The fact that you are not always experiencing a state of pure consciousness? No, of course not. It's just a part of the process. It's a part of this path as humans that we're fulfilling that requires us to fall back and out of into this state. And it's exactly what we're here to do on earth. Coming back to our influencers and gurus and teachers, they are human. There may have existed or exist some extraordinary beings, but I only believe in that because I know Buddha, Jesus, Rumi, and some others existed. Because otherwise, I would just assume that everyone is like me. Everyone is like those people, human and flawed. Good teachers are people that understood something about life and are doing everything in their power to be this thing that they understood. And one of the ways to do that is through teaching others. So it doesn't surprise me that someone that is still integrating the understanding that they have still doesn't do it fully, even though what they learned is super important, super meaningful, and had a big impact in their lives. It's not a change that happens like this. And I honestly don't think it's something that can even happen throughout the course of a life. It's something that can happen throughout the course of many lifetimes, perhaps. Which is why we keep coming back here. So accepting the message, not the messenger, means that you can see past the human fragility and imperfection to be in touch with the profound inspiration where that idea, where that philosophy, where that message comes from. So accepting the message, not the messenger, means that you can see past the human fragility and flaw and look only at the divine inspiration that is speaking through them. People who think creation and creator are the same don't understand the purpose of art or creation in general. Ideas exist independently of their creator. Many inspired people who came up with amazing creations take, in fact, very little responsibility for what they achieved. They say that the idea just came up with them like that, and they were lucky enough to be the ones to give it expression. You are mistaking the message for the messenger. You are mistaking the boat for the destination. They are not the same thing. Ideas also transmute and evolve in a way that is independent of their creator. Someone might take an idea from someone and just transform it into something completely different, or perhaps a bit similar, but still they make it something different that has nothing to do with the original creator. People, on the other hand, are flawed and struggle to live up to what they consider their ideals to be. Most people live in a state of hypocrisy, and if you don't believe me, just take a look at your life. How many times did you not live up to an ideal that you set for yourself? You banished the capitalist world, but you indulged in a pack of Oreos that are known to destroy the Amazonian forest. Or you bought clothes from a big resale store that we know by their label very cheaply in Bangladesh. That you said that you were emotionally mature just to lash out emotionally at a loved one. This is in part the consequence of woke culture that taught us to hold people to the highest standards and to point a finger using the internet as a morality police would. We have this inner guilty pleasure of seeing people that used to be higher than us fall down in disgrace after being caught in some scandal or some controversy. It asks for a bit of self-reflection. Were we really following the idea or the person? If we are so quick to abandon this idea that we loved 1 hour ago, did we really see truth in it? Did we really follow this person because of what they were saying, because of their philosophy? Or were we just admiring them and idolizing them because they gave us a sense of security and protection? I think one of the best practices in life is to not expect people to live up to their ideals, their standards. In fact, you could even expect them to do the precise opposite of what they are saying they value and they are and they want to be. So let this be your warning. If you follow someone, not their ideas, but someone, disappointment is inevitable. They won't live up to your expectations because they simply can't, just like you can't as a human. The problem with most influencers today is that they know perfection sells. So they present themselves as this curated version so that people can look up to them. Because people tend to buy more from people that they look up to. The perfect anti-example of this is Alan Watts. This man was a pioneer in translating Eastern knowledge, philosophy, and spirituality to the West. He changed the lives of millions, mine included. He was also a drunk. Does this undermine any of his value to the world in his teachings? Of course not. Of course it doesn't. However, the one thing that tore Alan Watts apart from the rest was that he never pretended to be anything other than he was. He just limited himself to being what he was. Alan Watts, an imperfect, wise human being on his path to illumination. So, the grades aren't that great. This doesn't have to be disappointing or sad. Quite on the contrary. In fact, it can be something that makes you realize just how much of your struggles aren't yours alone. That this is something that we all as humans have to go through. Perhaps all of this confusion, this contradiction, this struggle is these things that we have to go through in order to evolve, transmute. I don't know. But it can't be by chance that we're all living this beautiful contradiction, this beautiful hypocrisy that we call life.